Welcome to Save Our Sleep. Tizzie and the Save Our Sleep team believe it's every child's right to receive comfort, a parent's right to demonstrate love, and everyone's right to a full night of sleep. This podcast is not a medical or scientific volume, but a collection of tried and tested solutions and tips based on my many years of experience with babies and young children. Its main purpose is to help parents understand and avoid sleep problems in young babies and toddlers.
We'd like to recognise the Wadawurrung people who are the traditional owners of this region, which Tizzie and myself live and are recording today's podcast on. We acknowledge and respect that they have taken care of this land and water and raised children in this nation for over an extraordinary 70,000 years. The Save Our Sleep podcast is dedicated to helping you prevent and solve sleep problems while having some fun along the way. We endeavour to discuss all things family related, starting from pre-conception all the way through to an adult child leaving home and beyond. Some topics may be triggering. If you find this is the case, please reach out to your or your child's health nurse or general practitioner.
Episode 9. How's the crack?
G'day Tizzie, the crack is good. We're sitting here in our studio with a bit of banging going on in the background there, so sorry if that interrupts. We're not sure if you're going to be able to hear it or not.
I don't know if anyone else can hear the banging, but we can hear the banging. We're in an industrial estate in a podcast studio and they're putting posts, making posts. It's probably my husband because he built a lot of these warehouses, the lovely Nathan. Anyway.
Now just quickly for those watching on YouTube, Tizzie, you've got a different style today.
Well, they won't be. They'll see it in the. They'll see it in the photo on my way in my little Mini Cooper, which I bought myself in my midlife crisis. We should talk about that because
note taken.
Midlife crisis because. Actually, it's a really funny story. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. I had other things to talk about at the beginning, but we'll talk about that. Do you know why? Because next weekend, the same thing's about to happen.
Ooh.
So what's going to happen? Watch this space, Nathan Marr. Anyway, on my way in the midlife crisis...
Mobile,
I found these glasses. These are my glasses from... Can you see them? Anyone who's... watching will be able to see these on the YouTube, and if you're not watching on YouTube, then you will see them in the photos on the album covers. So these glasses are my glasses from my very first Glastonbury Music Festival.
I love them.
And the other night after my surgery, all of my children's school, my kids' school, I'm telling you lots of stories now, but as a lot of you would know, I've got COVID anxiety. I'm very scared of COVID, and I've got lots to tell you about COVID this week. Anyway, my children's school were having a ball. They were having a massive ball, and the tickets were like $450 for 2 people. And we had bought tickets to go to the ball originally before COVID, and then it got cancelled, postponed. And then it happened like a couple of weeks ago, and all the parents at school were going to this ball, but I wasn't. I was going to an Irish band in Ocean Grove in the chicken shop. And
no better place to see a band.
I found, and I just had surgery on the Wednesday, hence why we were no longer going to the ball and we'd sold our tickets. And actually we can't afford to go to the ball now after COVID because it's affected Save Our Sleep so badly that we've had to close our stores and so on. So no ball for us, and went to the chicken shop, and I found these glasses as I was leaving the house, and I put them on, and Nathan said, I love your glasses. But then he told me later he didn't like them, so I was a bit embarrassed. He said, did you actually wear those? Yes, I wore them to the chicken shop. But we got to the chicken shop and everybody was... Ocean Grove is a little beach town, and I don't know how to describe the chicken shop. Can you describe the chicken shop?
It is just literally a chicken shop, but it's bigger than your average, it's almost like a double-sized fish and chip shop. And they have always had amazing music there, and Ocean Grove lacks something that every other town in the whole of bloody Australia, I think, has. A pub.
Well, because they're not allowed a pub.
I know.
Because it was in this area where you're not allowed pubs.
Yeah, correct.
But I don't really understand
We'll find out the history about that, but it's quite interesting. But so we don't have a pub, so there's other establishments, and just so happens to be the chicken shop in the main street of Ocean Grove.
England
really
and
cool.
Canada and South Africa, where a lot of our viewers and listeners are, they won't know what a chicken shop is. I don't know. It's
like a fish and chip shop,
except
but
they sell
chicken.
Like it's a bit. I don't know how to explain it. Anyway, went there and I was with Tanya, and we went in, and there were too many people, and it was all too scary, and we went. went and sat outside the front and got Thai takeaway from across the road.
Because you were worried about COVID. Is that how we got onto this story?
I was worried about COVID.
Yeah.
I was worried about COVID, but I'd had surgery on Wednesday. So I was actually
just weren't feeling-
terrified that people were going
Yeah.
to touch where I'd had my surgery.
Yeah.
And then the woman came out, and then eventually she brought us in and she made us VIP seats, like, and it was because of my surgery. And Tanya's going, and the lady, not woman, I think her name's Kath, who no, it isn't Kath, I don't know what her name is, who owns Chicken Shop. And it was great. And the guy was talking about how, you're in Australia and your kids aren't, you live in Australia and your kids aren't Irish. And it was very emotional. It was very emotional. But I wore the glasses. I also wore a mask. I was the only person there with Glastonbury glasses and a mask on.
Well, I was going to pick a bone with you because you have come into the studio and recorded without me. And I'm hoping all our listeners tuned into the bonus episode, which was on the bedding guide.
And you know what's funny about that?
What's that?
You're wearing the orange colour I wore in my bonus episode.
And we do try to somewhat match a little, although we didn't today. But I'm
They look
liking
good
the glasses and the
And
jumper.
the orange. We all match. Our orange light's not on.
Oh, we'll get that on. You can switch it on.
I'm going to switch it on to match your orange top.
So you asked me if I enjoyed listening to it. It was really interesting listening to something that I wasn't involved in. And a couple of yawns there, Tizzie. Were you a bit tired?
I don't understand. I know. I
Tizzie
can't get the
literally,
orange
I've
light
never
on. There's
seen
going to
her-
be no orange light today.
I've never seen you yawn in your life. You're one of these really high energy people that just keeps going.
know.
But anyway.
I yawned continuously.
Bless you.
Maybe I just wanted to go to sleep because I was talking about bedding.
Maybe you were bored without me.
Yes.
Anywho,
maybe.
you didn't bring up my favourite story, and this was what I read, and I'm sure it's in the bedding guide. And I actually tried to get you to tell this story on one of the earlier podcasts by asking you a question about the bedding guide, and you didn't bring it up. So I'm going to bring it up because it just resonated with me, and it wasn't until I read this that I had that light bulb moment and realised why the bedding is so vital and why it makes sense and it's logical. So and you'll have to correct me because it's been 4 years since I read this story.
And we might need a calculator if it's what I think it is.
Okay, so you were camping and it was Nathan who was putting, I presume, Dara, your firstborn, to bed or getting his sleeping bag on. And he's taken note of the TOG rating, which was 2.5.
Dara had been sick. He'd vomited and we were changing the bedding.
Right.
That's what we were doing.
And he's noted the TOG, and then he's, whether earlier on he'd noted it on your sleeping bag or doona or gone and had a look.
Doona, because Dara had been sick
There you go.
on our doona.
And, of course, your adult doona, so an adult body that has a lot more body fat that is usually sleeping next to another warm adult, was, 10, 12 TOGs?
Yeah, 12.
And you're putting your wee little baby to sleep with just a 2.5 TOG sleeping bag on. Like, how and why are we all getting this so wrong? I cannot bear to think that these babies are being put to sleep and toddlers put to sleep with just a 2.5 TOG sleeping bag on. They must be freezing, and no wonder they roll to their tummies and curl in. And it's just, as soon as I read that, I've gone, right, I need to get some blankets on these babies.
And so... Oh, I should have interrupted you.
Yes.
I hate when I don't interrupt you.
You need to make notes.
And then I don't remember what I'm going to say.
Oh, no.
So with the doona, well, first of all, I'll say we weren't camping. We were at the Tour de France in a camper van.
Fancy.
And also I need to correct something. I said that I came out of the caravan when Cillian was... I came out of the caravan when Kieran was rock climbing. It's a tent, not a caravan. So that's why Zoe kept thinking we were camping in a caravan. I don't know why I say caravan. It's a tent. I think because when I was a child, we always camped in a caravan. It's a tent that we have now. So yes, with the bedding. So basically, 12 TOG is... So what's 12 TOG divided? Do it on your phone. Divided by 0...
0.6.
0.2. Most cotton blankets are 0.2. So go 12 divided by 0.2. 12 divided by 0.2, 60. So you would need 60 cotton blankets to roughly get the same warmth
That is insane, isn't it?
I know what I was going to say. I was going to say the maternal health nurses and midwives and people say to you, dress your baby in the same as you and one
Plus
extra
one.
layer.
Yes.
So
and
if
no one
you're
does that, by the way. And I can't stand seeing little bubbers with their
cold
blue
feet
skin
and cold.
just put an extra layer on.
So if you take a 12-tog duvet, a 12-tog duvet, and then you should put your baby in a, which you wouldn't, in a 12-tog duvet plus another layer. Like we're told to put them in a 2.5-tog sleeping bag. It makes no sense.
No.
And why do you not put a duvet in the cot with your child is a really good topic. So we're kind of half doing episode, half just chatting at the start now, which is fine. This is going to go for a while, but it's good information.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
I like it. And I like the fact that we give good information at the start. Yeah. And also people have older children who are listening to this, not just babies. So you cannot put a duvet in your child's cot or in their cot because they can roll onto it. It's soft. It's not safe. You can put them in it. So you can put them in a sleeping bag that's made of like a duvet material, but they can't roll onto it unless they take it off and then it's dangerous. And that's why the Save Our Sleep sleeping bags are so safe and so good because they are fitted necks and fitted armholes. I will put a clip up with this episode, I promise, of me putting the sleeping bag over my head. These sleeping bag companies, really good ones, even one that used to have the SIDS and Kids logo on it, which I've done a little podcast on that, which I will share as a bonus episode after Zoe's listened and given me the go ahead, maybe. These logos got put on these sleeping bags, and that doesn't mean that they're safe. And it really upset me because one of these sleeping bags, they say, if your head can go through the neck hole, do not use it till your child's older. And then I do this YouTube video, which I'm going to share, of me putting it over my neck, and I'm going, well, I'm 48, so my mum's got to put it away until I'm a bit older, but yet there's no way I'd even fit one leg in it now.
Wow.
So you cannot have sleeping bags that are not safe, because if your child climbed out in this one through the neck hole, or if your child climbed into it, it's not safe.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, before we move on to the episode, I just wanted to touch briefly on Mother's Day. So I worked out this episode is going to go live on the 5th of June. Zoe may or may not have had your baby. What's your due date?
12th of June.
So Zoe may have had her baby by then. It's very strange. There's actually 3 of us in the room. I'm not allowed to call the baby the name I like to call it. But
Benno,
hello,
you've already called
Benno.
him
So
that on
I'm Auntie Tizzie Benno, and I'll always call you Benno. I don't know why. I don't know what your name is, but you may be here by the time this episode goes to air. Or may not be.
So
Miracle
exciting.
if you're not, because Zoe's last children came at 25 weeks and 3 days, and one stayed in hospital for 100 days and one was 121 days.
Oh, amazing. 99 and 121.
Oh, nearly.
You
I
are
wanted to say
incredible.
199. That was my homework to learn
gosh.
that. Anyway, her twins. So this episode is being recorded 6 or 7 days after Mother's Day, but this episode will go live in June. I just want to say to all the mothers out there who didn't have a good Mother's Day, you are not alone. So Kieran had a school assembly and he has worn a mask to school all day, every day. And for his school assembly rehearsals, they asked him to take his mask off, and he's convinced that that's the point where he actually picked up COVID.
Kieran.
And he's very upset about it. I don't know how true it is that he took the mask off. I'm not blaming the school. He's just a little bit upset. And so my Mother's Day was Kieran with a very, very high temperature. Other people would have actually probably called an ambulance, but my children get high temperatures. And then when you get a really, really high temperature, you vomit. So my Mother's Day consisted of day 2 or 3 of COVID, high temperature, vomiting, washing sheets, washing bedding. My Mother's Day has been postponed. We're doing it next Sunday. We have, if he's better, we haven't had, well, he's out of the, quarantine
the thick of
area,
it,
but
right.
he's still tired and he's not back at school. if anyone else had a Mother's Day that wasn't perfect, that's normal. I think Mother's Days are for grandmothers, not for the mothers who are in it. Like, it's not like you can go, I'm not going to breastfeed my baby for the whole day because I'm having a day off, you know?
That's right.
So for anyone else who didn't have the perfect Mother's Day, I'm having my Mother's Day next Sunday. I haven't had any of my gifts because Kieran really wants to have a proper Mother's Day and make me breakfast in bed and so on. And he's not up to it at the moment. He's recovering from COVID. My children have health issues. The doctors, my GP said to me one day, I don't make them properly. So we have underlying health issues. We're not normal. Don't be as scared of COVID as I am. I'm scared of it because of our underlying health issues, not because of COVID. Zoe, how was your Mother's Day?
Look, so similar. I got up to the kids. Luke was having a sleep in. He'd gone out the night before. One of them had woken up on the wrong side of bed, so he just shouted at me for half an hour to an hour and cried, and nothing I did was right. We went to...
Not Luke, your child.
the child. Yeah. Luke was still sleeping at this point. And they had given me their presents that they made at Kinder the day that they brought them home, so the Thursday prior, because they're 4 and they couldn't wait, and they ate the cookies that they made me because they're 4 and they wanted the cookies. So it was a really nothing day, and I did make sure that later on in the afternoon I ran myself a bath, and that was nice. But it was nothing.
Did you get into it before it got cold?
I did, although I couldn't have a hot bath because, of course, I'm pregnant. So it was kind of this lukewarm. Anywho, and I did a face mask. I brought a cheap face mask from the supermarkets just to make myself feel a little bit fancy. And actually, while I was in the bath, Luke popped his head in and he said, I feel really bad because I have got you something, but it hasn't arrived yet. And I'm thinking, yeah, whatever. It's Sunday. You know, what are you expecting to arrive in the mail on a Sunday or at least a Saturday? So I sort of didn't really believe him, to be honest. And it wasn't until the kids were in bed. Oh, the funniest thing. He'd ordered.
Ordered?
Yeah. So you do this online, and I think they call them, it's a Cameo. And so you can get different grades of celebrities to video a message for you.
I want to do that. Can I video messages for people?
Yeah,
Am I a celebrity?
Yeah, let's get you on this
You're
website.
A celebrity.
So it was Peter Dacos, who was a infamous, fantastic football player for the Collingwood Magpies, AFL in, I don't know whether the 80s, but definitely the 90s. And so weird because I'm not a big AFL fan, but I did have a pet magpie who was named after Peter Dacos when I was a little girl, and I loved and adored this magpie. And so...
so that was your Mother's Day
That was my Mother's Day present, and he mentions the podcast. I'm just laughing because he just keeps throwing all this information that Luke's given him. You know, you've got the boys and you're pregnant and you're a marriage celebrant.
Oh, he called the podcast Saving Our Sleep.
Yeah. He said, you know, I think that's a great idea, helping people sleep. And I just laughed and laughed and laughed. I thought it was the funniest,
so did you get this while you were in the bath or not?
No, this was like late at night, 8 o'clock at night when the kids are in bed. So the boys didn't even know about it. And it was just funny and different. And Peter Dacos, if you're listening, you're amazing. And everyone that's listened or watched this has just fallen in love with you. He just comes across as so genuine and kind.
Perfect,
and
cool.
It's just put a lot of smiles on people's faces. So Mother's Day redeemed by the end of the day.
And also, Nathan, if you ever feel yourself, feel not about this, but about something else, if you ever feel the need to watch the podcast, I would like framed photos of all. I've worked out why he's not doing it. So I've worked it out. Okay, I've worked it out. I've just worked it out. Maybe I need to change subject. Just this second, I've worked out why he's not doing it.
I need to know because I've been texting
Zoe
him trying
has
to get him
got
to do
these.
This.
I've worked it out. Mm-hmm. Zoe has got these beautiful framed pictures. Are they the actual size of your children?
They are the actual size.
Of the actual size of her children, like her hand-drawn sketches. And I've been asking Zoe to hint to Nathan to get them, and I've just worked out why he's not doing it.
Is it sad?
Yes.
Oh, why?
Because he probably doesn't know
how many kids
to do, and if he's going to offend me or him, or sometimes we name our pregnancy losses a certain way and he gets upset that they're not named the right way and they weren't that. And So he probably is going, do I include George 1 of 14? Do I not include George? We call all of our losses just George 1, George 2, George. Do we? The midwife in Whakatane in New Zealand, where we had George, the first one. Say it 3 times.
Yeah, really fast.
No. And it is Whakatane. It is. That's what it's called. Anyhow.
Great name.
She said to us, you should just pick a name that you'd never use. Anyhow, it's a long story. We won't go into it now, but I've just clicked. That's why he's not doing it. So let's stop asking him. He can't do it. Right. On that note, I've got a very happy story. No, on the same note, I've got a very happy story. I have 3 beautiful children that I brought home from hospital. Yes, I talk about my losses in a way where I giggle and I smile and I this and I that because, look, I just believe that my children have all come back in different bodies, better bodies. Sure. I don't know why. We'll talk about that in another episode. Sure. I have 3 children. I feel like... I don't know. I cannot worry and be sad and keep going on about the ones who weren't cooked long enough to come home from hospital because I'd be a wreck. And we went through so much and it feels like someone else went through it. So anyway, so on a positive note, I've got 3 beautiful children. I'm very sad. Yes. Not trying to say it's not nothing.
No, don't
but
take away from
I've got 3 beautiful children at home and I've just clicked, that's why we're not doing it. And Mother's Day used to always be difficult for that reason.
Yeah.
So let's roll on to a very short
about
now.
10 minutes left here, Tizzie.
Episode
9. We're going to continue the settling chapter. And Tizzie,
it's not the settling chapter. So we're going to just briefly continue on chapter 3. What were you going to say, Tizzie?
I think that we should just go to there because really we don't have a lot of time and we'll attack that next chapter.
And this
next.
Might be a bit more like a bonus episode. This isn't
Let's
really
call
an
this
advice.
the Chatsky episode because we've just chatted.
Yeah. So, but I think it's important that we chat about stuff because we have people who've got older children as well, so, and we also want you to feel connected. Like motherhood's not perfect, so these podcasts are not just about sleep and advice, they're about reality.
Absolutely,
they're about we were doing chapter 3 and we are going to continue on. The next thing in chapter 3 is reflux. I'm not going to go on and on about reflux because every baby has reflux. Every baby is born with reflux. Every baby's esophagus is not made, it's not closed like ours. And yes, there is babies with diagnosed reflux who are really ill with reflux, who have a medical condition which is really severe. And some children don't even gain weight because of the reflux. But then there used to be something called colic, and it's like reflux in other cases, not the real reflux, is just the new buzzword for colic. And then it's like people don't use the word colic anymore because doctors have, some people believe, I'm not saying it's true, but some people believe colic's not a real thing. Yeah. Some people believe it's just colic can be babies who are overstimulated, overtired.
Yeah, I think overtired for me. Yeah.
Christmas colic. They once said, Christmas colic
overstimulated.
Well, what happens is you have this tiny little baby and then you go to Christmas Day and how often, I know with us, we see Nathan's brother and his wife and their children twice a year. Once on Christmas Day and sometimes on Mother's Day, which didn't happen this year, right? Twice a year. How many people see Auntie May or... in my case, Auntie Marjorie, who was like my grandmother, we called her Auntie Marjorie, who was like a grandmother. My grandmother died when I was very young, and Auntie Marjorie was the grandmother at my Christmas table every year, and she died a couple of weeks ago. How many of us see someone? So what happens with a baby is you have a baby, and you take this baby and you hold it and the baby smells you and listens to your breathing and listens to your voice and tries to work out if that baby recognises you, what you smell of, what you think. When you hand that baby to a new person, their dad, they smell him, they listen to his breathing, they listen to his voice, and they make a note in their memory that that's this person, who is their dad eventually they realise, but not at first, and they don't realise you're their mum at first. We like to think they do, but it would take even, I don't know whether it's a few hours or a few days, but to work out that you're their mum, their dad. Then you've got like the next person. In my case, it should have been Nathan's parents, but they seem to always just go away just as we had a baby. So they'd meet the baby and also our babies were in hospital for a while. But with a full-term baby, it might be your mother, your mother-in-law or your sister, right? So they take the smell thing. Come Christmas Day, you hand them to these strangers. If you have a baby under 8 weeks on Christmas Day, they are using all of their senses to work out who this person is, what they smell like, what they smell like, what they sound like, what the rhythm of their heart's like, what their everything.
Wow.
If you hand that baby to one new person, that takes so much energy. If you hand that baby to 8 people, which is the average for an 8-week-old baby on a big family Christmas day. So when we say 8, some people will hand the baby to 4 people, some people, and not sometimes hands, sometimes people just pick the baby up.
That happened to me. Yep.
You let some people, it's 12 people, the average is 8, Think of the energy. Think of how overstimulated that child's brain is. Listen to this for a minute. What do you smell like? What do you sound like? What do you breathe like? Next person. What do you smell like? What do you sound like? What do you breathe like? What's your rhythm like? Next person. What do you smell like? What do you sound like? What do you breathe? Are you bored? Are you overstimulated? That's what you're doing to your baby. Then they get what we call Christmas colic, where they are so exhausted and they're out of routine that they scream and scream and scream for a few days. So that's what we call, sometimes we call colic. Yeah. What do you do Christmas Day? You baby wear. You put your baby in a sling and you wear them.
That's a good idea.
Then nobody can take them from you.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what you do. You baby wear. Okay?
Yeah.
And you be very careful on Christmas Day. If you go to someone's house and you set up a porta cot or something, because there's other children who might decide to go in and get the baby up.
Yes.
Like if you're in a house with other people with other children, you might have a beautiful little 4-year-old or 5-year-old girl or boy who decides they want to go in and get up their new cousins. So baby wearing is actually safer.
That's a
it really is.
Really good idea.
Or give yourself a break and have a nap on Christmas Day when the baby's
Happy
napping.
Christmas to me.
You know, so that's, so colic is something which, reflux. So we're talking about reflux. So I don't want to go into reflux.
No.
My children were diagnosed with reflux, but I never did medication because sometimes the medication can do more harm than good. The side effect of the medication can be sleep problems.
Right.
And at one point, I'm not medical, but at one point they did say in London that they thought the side effects could be rickets was coming back from too much medication of different things. So if you do have a child who needs medication, yes, you need to use it, but sometimes a good routine can cure the reflux. So that's the next thing in the chapter. The next thing in that chapter we need to discuss is constipation. Now, lots and lots of people say that their kids are constipated at different points. So with a little baby, sometimes they're not constipated, sometimes they're not getting fed enough. When you are breastfeeding or bottle feeding your baby, normally, if enough milk's going in, it pushes the food out. Sometimes you're feeding and they're pooing. You can hear the while you're feeding. You'll have that in a few weeks. And sometimes it goes all over you.
Yeah.
If there's food going in, there's poo coming out. Sometimes, my tummy's joining in now. Can you hear it? Sometimes the constipation is just because they're hungry.
Okay.
And if you give them enough milk. I was looking recently on a Facebook group where someone was talking about the fact that they're giving the baby this set amount, and I don't know whether it's actually the Australia formula fed Facebook group.
Right.
And I'm in there and I don't know if I'm allowed to comment. And people are making comments about their babies and their milk and they can't get infant formula, but my clients buy infant formula from me and it's always available. And that's one reason why they buy it from me. It's always, always available. And I can tell you, please, if you're one of these clients, can you put up a Facebook review saying this? I have clients in Perth and Melbourne and Sydney and everywhere, and they contact me because they've run out of infant formula. And I can tell you now, and somebody needs to come on here and say, Tizzie is telling the truth. I get infant formula to their house within 2 hours, sometimes within an hour of them running out of formula.
Wow.
And that's not a joke. That is my regular clients. If you are buying infant formula regularly from me and you run out, I get it to you within an hour normally, but it could be a couple of hours. If you're one of those clients, can you please write a review, because I want people to realise how good we are with that, because it is important that you can always get, because formula is a thing now, you can't get it. It's really hard to get, and especially now with Shanghai closed, because some of the tins are made in Shanghai. So it's interesting. So sometimes constipation is from formula. Another time that your kids get constipated, think about this. If your baby is having a pure liquid diet, so a pure liquid diet, right?
Which they should be.
And then at 16 weeks, between 16 and 18 weeks, depending if they're full term or not full term, they have solids. You start rice cereal, of course their poos are going to change.
Yep.
That's not called constipation. That's called adjustment to the new diet.
Yeah.
It's only constipation when there's, and again, check with your GP, your health professional, always, if there's somebody who wants to come on here and say, Tizzie, what you were saying is not correct. Come
Please
on.
do.
Happy for you to come on. But when you change from a pure milk diet to a diet that's got solids in it, including infant rice cereal, which is needed, and lots of people say, I'm going to make my own at home. You can't, because it needs the iron. The reason we give the infant rice cereal in the solids when we start solids is 2 reasons. 1, your baby needs the iron. 2, if you're all babies at about 18 weeks, regardless of whether they have started solids or not started solids, at 18 weeks, a baby drops the amount of milk they are drinking. So if you were to take identical twin boys like yours and start one of them on solids at 16, well, you couldn't because they were premature, but let's say you had full-term identical twin boys, and one starts solids at 16 weeks and one is not on solids at 16 weeks, and at 18 weeks, one's on solids and one isn't. At 18 weeks, both of them will drop their milk intake, and you will start panicking because their milk intake drops. Milk is the most important food for your child until they are 1 year old. I say only use stage 1 infant formula or breast milk. Do not use stage 2 or follow-on formulas, and do not use infant formulas. There is a blog which I can link to which explains this. It's by a nutritionist and a medical doctor. I think she's a medical doctor, Katrina. I think she's medical. I'll link to it. Zoe's taking notes to link to it. And we're also going to link to the sleeping bag video head thing. So you change. The other reason why you do the rice cereal is to put the milk in. So I say give them apple puree. This is when they've been on solids for a few days. Add your express breast milk or your formula in, and then you need to put the rice cereal in to thicken it up. Now, of course, when you move to a food diet, their poos are going to change. It's not called constipation, it's called adjustment. Well done. Adjustment, not constipation. Yeah. Now, there is children who are constipated, and in my book I say to give them boiled water, boil water, then cool it a bit. Boil water. Add to 30 mils of water, add 1 teaspoon of brown sugar. Yes, it's ridiculous, but it's a natural pain relief. So 30 mils or 1 ounce of boiling hot water. Add 1 teaspoon of raw brown sugar to it. Yum. Okay? Then let it cool and then feed it to your baby. Yes, it's not ideal. Only do it the odd time. Doctors will also tell you to do this, and the poo should come straight out if they're really constipated.
Wow. Okay. Yep. Thank you.
The other reason why babies may not feed, which we didn't touch on last time, is thrush, which is next in the bush. Bush. Where the thrush bush? Where have I got it from?
Wow,
anyway, I don't know.
Wonder the connection.
Anyhow, so thrush, that can go on your nipples as well.
Yes.
It can go on their dummies if they've got a dummy.
Right.
So in the book, I'm not going to go into it because I'm not medical.
So we're
it's
looking
in the
at things
book,
that can affect sleep. Yeah.
And nappy rash. Nappy rash can affect. I always use, we call it super cream. I was born the same day in Rathfarnham as Sudocreme. Nathan reckons I'd eat it if I could. I use that for everything. And
walking around the caravan park with it on your face, weren't you, over summer?
I didn't realise. Camping park, I was, because I put it on.
Why'd you put it on your face?
Oh, because I've got an eyebrow that I keep pulling out. Whenever I'm stressed, I pull my eyebrow out.
You're like a cockatoo, one of
I'm
those
missing an eyebrow,
cockatoos that pull their feathers out.
So I put Sudocreme on, super cream. So that is the you obviously got to talk to your doctor, but
Yes.
I use super cream at every nappy change. Also, do you know what people don't know? This fascinates me. Whenever people come to the sleep clinic, so people used to come to the sleep clinic, and I want Zoe to come so badly. People used, not that I wanted to have sleep problems, but I want to play with her newborn. People used to come and stay. A lot of obstetricians in Melbourne used to leave hospital and come and check in at my sleep clinic. And they would not know that when you lift your baby's arm up, they've got these rolls. And if you open the rolls when they're newborns, it can be red raw. You put super cream in there.
Right.
And you put super cream in there. That's what you're supposed to. And here, they can have in their, for YouTube people, I'm showing.
I know what you mean now.
In their armpits, they can, but in their bottom, they can have little rolls. And when you pull the rolls of fat back, there's little red where they've sweated and they've got put pseudocream. People don't know to do that. Pseudocream. Like a little baby massage with pseudocream,
They use that at the Royal Women's as well. And I was told that the really active ingredient is zinc.
Did you know that it was born the same day as me, 1973? So I was born in Rathfarnham, and super cream was made in Rathfarnham the first day. A guy and a pharmacist used to make it for people, and then it became a thing. It became a commercial product the same when I was born. Rathfarnham in Dublin. There you go. Now, so another little so next episode we're going to talk about sleep and settling, but talking of the sleep clinic, I've been watching these people I've been watching like in Instagram influencers, and I need to stop watching them. I'm getting really upset.
You're getting wound up.
Like some of these influencers have a baby, and they obviously, I don't understand how it works, but they must be getting given all of these free gifts. And every time you see the baby, it's in a different wrap, a different sleeping bag, a different this, a different that. And this particular baby that I've been watching I've been watching 4. So there's actually about 4 babies all born the same time with these influencers. People might have to go and see who I follow to work it out, which isn't a good thing. But there's 4 of them all have babies, and all of their babies are roughly 8 weeks old this week.
Yes.
And I'm like going, the crap's about to hit the fan, because all of their babies are about to start sleeping in daytime sleep cycles. And I contacted one of them and I said, like, do you want to come and stay? And they haven't taken me up on the offer.
Okay.
But because I just feel so sorry for them, because these babies
they're testing everything out.
Are just being moved from this sleep bag to this sleep bag to this bed. 1 minute it's in a snoo, 1 minute it's in a cot, 1 minute it's in this. It's driving me insane, these poor babies. Anyway, so I hope these influencers are going to listen to our next podcast. It's not their fault, it's their job.
And it'd be interesting to know whether, surely they would use these products.
No, because
are they just for the photos and videos and then they take them out again?
Do you remember, I'm not going to name a name, but do you remember one of the local ones went on one of the big websites, the commercial websites, Red Nose, and talked and said, oh no, we just do something for influencing and then we do something else really with our children.
Yes.
I find that really hard. Imagine being Tizzie Hall and imagine having somebody coming to you with their baby for help and advice. You help them. Their baby sleeps perfectly. You see them. I'm not talking about the same influencer. I'm talking about other people, other influencers. You see them on a daily basis. You see them. Their kid's happy. They come in your store. Their baby's happy. Their baby sleeps. And then they go on testing all these different products and theories. And you know that they use the infant formula that you endorse. But then you see them endorsing live on their feed an infant formula which has probiotics in it, which cause sleep problems.
Right. Yeah.
And you think, don't give that to your kid. And then you contact them and kind of go, oh, be very careful, because if you're giving this new formula with the probiotics in it or the stage 2. So stage 2 infant formula causes sleep problems. Probiotics causes sleep problems. You have to remember, some children will have stage 2 infant formula and sleep perfectly. Some children will have probiotics and sleep perfectly.
That's right.
People only come to me with the ones who aren't sleeping. And so I only see the cases where it does affect them. We cut it out. They start sleeping. So this particular one I contacted and said, oh, be careful. Can you keep an eye on the sleep in case it goes wrong? And they say, oh, no, I don't give that. It was my formula in the bottle. And I think, oh.
Very inauthentic.
It's very
isn't it?
strange, isn't it? Anyway, so our next episode is going to be episode 10. And it's going to be on sleep unsettling. So now it's time for a question. Let's have today's question.
Great. So today's question's good because it's sort of leading off from I think it was episode 5, we discussed baby talk, and I think that this would have been a great question for then. But today's question's from Sarah. She says, my husband is upset because my 4-week-old baby doesn't smile at him. What are your thoughts on this?
You know, it's a really interesting question. I'm glad that we've gone back to baby talk because I wanted to talk a little bit about baby talk because in baby talk, we didn't actually cover when your baby starts talking to you, which is at about 3 months old, where they go, and then you should kind of go, are you talking to mummy? And then they go, and then also when they do that, it's not necessarily a good idea to say it back to them because they might be thinking that they're saying, mummy, and then you go, and then they go, mummy, and then you go,
Good point.
So like, let's say I'm going, I think I'm saying mummy, but I go, and then you say, then you think, what's she saying? I haven't heard that word before.
Yeah.
She doesn't realise that you're
That's a good
imitating
point. Yes.
how you've just said mummy. If you go back and listen to your children speaking when they're like 18 months, you understand them perfectly, but the words they're using aren't proper words. You know, so the last, I'm now going off subject for a sec, but the last video we did Mother's Day, and then I was looking for stuff to put up for Mother's Day, and I found a video of us in a chairlift in Italy going up to the Giro d'Italia, and I'm so scared of heights and there's no snow and we're in a chairlift, and it's a chairlift that you just get on and sit there. It's like, I still cannot believe with skiing that chairlifts you don't get strapped in. And we're in this chairlift and Nathan's holding Cadell and Chiara's dog, a buggy, half of Dara. I'm holding,
and
he's got the buggy, he's got the pushchair, and he was holding the camera.
Yes.
And then Dara's between us, and then I've got, I'm going to share the video, okay?
Yeah, it's a gorgeous video.
And then I've got Kieran in a suit in the front, and Zoe would be very proud of the fact that even though it cost more than what it would have cost to buy clothes, I sent my brother all those clothes for his new baby, and they're now wearing them, even though the postage probably costs more than buying new clothes.
Yeah,
but it's about landfill, and they're wearing them and they're beautiful. And then I go, I think I'm going to vomit. Then Dara goes, you're going to vomit, Mummy, you're going to vomit. And then I go, I think I'm going to vomit, and then I think we're going to fall. And then I'm so worried because there's no snow and we're in this on-strap chairlift, which is supposed to be for skiing. And then Nathan goes, Dara goes, I'm going to fall. And you hear him talking and he's not talking properly, but we know what he's saying. And then Nathan goes, you're not going to fall. And then Dara looks at me and he goes, you're going to vomit, Mummy? And I go, oh. And then he goes, I'm going to wave at the people. Because there's all these people. Sweet, I'm just going to wave at the people. I don't care that Mum's going to vomit. But so when you're talking to your baby, think of it from their point of view. I did it. I did it all the time. So they go, and then you go, and they think, what's Mum saying?
Yeah.
So when they go, say, are you talking to Mummy? That's a good word. Say it again. And then they'll go, and then you go, oh, how do babies talk? What do they say?
I don't know. I used to say ga or ga.
Yeah, and then you say, well done, you said it again.
Yes.
And it's like when they bring their painting home from school and they go, Mummy, look what I drew for you today. And you don't go, oh, that's a lovely rocket, because they go, well, you actually want to go, that's
right.
a lovely male part. Why did you draw Daddy going to the toilet? They go, it's a rocket. You don't want to, you going to go, oh, that's a lovely picture. And you ask them stuff and eventually you work out what it is. It's the same with baby talk, right? So that's the first thing is you start talking to your baby as soon as, talk to when they talk to goo goo gaga to you, be careful how you respond. We don't expect them to start that till about 3 months. But then this lady was asking about when does a child smile? Well, it's an interesting question because when Dara and Cillian were born, I did not correct their ages. So they were premature. And I didn't correct their ages. So I didn't say Dara was 10 or 11 weeks or 12 weeks prem, whatever. I just went with it. And when Cillian was born, I didn't correct his age. Cillian went to school with a little boy called Eamon, and his mum is a neuroscientist, a brain person, a head person. She has motorbike brains that have been killed in accidents on her desk.
Okay.
And she is a very interesting person, and I got lots of support from her when Kieran was a baby because our little boys were in prep together. And Kieran wasn't smiling. And I remember saying to her, you know, Kieran's not smiling. And she said to me, Tizzie, when you conceived Kieran, right, we don't know whether it was day 1, which we call week 2, like, or how it works. But like day 1 is like, so they're 40 weeks. Your pregnancy is 40 weeks, but is it 42 weeks from conception, or
I think
is it the other way? Is it 38 weeks from conception? Anyway, so yes, because when you actually the egg actually fertilizes, don't they call that week 2? Because it's from your period?
Yeah, you're right.
It's a bit complicated.
Yeah,
anyway,
sure. Okay, yeah.
So let's just say your baby is born 40 weeks from conception, let's say. Okay? Then, 40 weeks from conception, your baby is born. If your baby comes... first of all, think how much does that baby change from the day of conception to the day it is born at 40 weeks, right?
Can I just stop you for 1
Yes.
second? And I don't know whether we're going to have to edit this out, but I need to wee so bad. My stomach's about to explode. So
you
should
go
I let
wee?
you continue
Yes.
on, or
Are you going to wee on the seat?
Yeah, I've got to go.
Yeah.
I've really got to go.
You go. You're
I'll be back.
pregnant.
Sorry,
okay, baby wants her
I've
to
been
wee.
holding on for too long.
Okay, and I'm going to talk to you about this for a
continue
minute, but it's actually Zoe will have to go back and listen to it afterwards because she had premature babies. So 40 weeks from conception. So then my babies were born. Kieran was born 8 weeks early. So if Kieran was born 8 weeks early, that means when he's actually 8 weeks old, 8 weeks in the world, and we're saying, your maternal health nurse is saying, has he smiled yet? So he's 8 weeks old, and babies normally smile between 6 and 8 weeks. It can be as early as 4 weeks, but then maybe that baby was born 2 weeks late, which would make it 4 weeks. So they normally smile between 6 and 8 weeks. So I'm saying to this mum, at the school kids' mum, Kieran's not smiling. And she's saying to me, what age is he? And I'm saying, well, it's 8 weeks since he's 8 weeks old. And she goes, he's not 8 weeks old. He's 40 weeks since conception. And I was like, oh, you're right. And she goes, if he is not smiling in 8 weeks, which he will be 16 weeks, but that will be 48 weeks from conception, that's when you need to worry. So I had never looked at it that way before. So you need to explain to your husband, Sarah, he's not to be worried. When a baby is first born, all you do is feed them, change them, put them to bed, feed them, change them, clean them, wash, clean. It's so boring for the dad. He does not feel engaged. He does not feel like he is part of the baby's world. The baby's not looking at him. He's not smiling at him. He's not talking to him. That is normal and to be expected. And it's normally between 6 and 8 weeks. And it is, again, it can be changed from when your baby was born. So if your baby came 2 weeks early, then for you, it'll be between 8 and 10 weeks. If your baby came 2 weeks late, then your baby might smile and recognise dad between 4 and 6 weeks. You missed the really interesting part that I think you would have been interested in. You're going to have to go back and listen to it later.
Oh, I can't wait to.
So that is a wrap for episode
9.
9.
We are
Now,
done. How exciting.
we are getting some great feedback. So please remember to write a review.
Yes, so subscribe is so important.
Download and check the links that we
Yep.
put up. They're not on the YouTube video because you can't put links up, but on the podcast, the
Yes.
links.
Yep, in show
Check
notes. Yep.
the links in the show notes. And next week we're going to start talking about sleep and settling. And we've had some, interesting feedback on our Tummy Time podcast where people were saying how they agree that they hear so much about tummy time and how they totally agree that why would you force a baby to do stuff that's unnatural?
They're not ready for it, yeah.
Cows.
Yeah.
We're not saying don't do tummy time. We're just saying don't put yourself under so much stress because cows aren't forced to do stuff.
No.
They stand when they stand.
Yes.
Why are we making them use muscles? And on the note of tummy time, Nathan asked me to ask you, Zoe.
Oh.
So I don't know whether it's been on air yet or whether he saw me replaying an old podcast, but you said, so Tummy Time will have been to air when this comes out, but it hasn't been to air because it's the one after Mother's Day.
Okay.
I think.
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
So Nathan wants to know what you want, the retro cot or a roly-poly koala? Because apparently I ignored you when you said, I know a baby who wants a roly-poly koala. So the Save Our Sleep Tizzie Hall roly-poly koala is the number one get your kid on their tummy. They love it. Tummy time present. And you said, I know a baby who wants a roly-poly koala. Do you remember?
No. Oh, did I say that on the podcast?
Yes, you said, I know a baby, and I ignored you. I'm really sorry for ignoring you.
Oh, but I drop hints like that to you
And
all the time.
which would you like to? Would you like to borrow a roly-poly koala, or would you like to borrow the retro cot?
The cot.
It might come with a roly-poly koala in it. Okay, that's it for episode 9. Please remember that you can get into our support group if you're using the Save Our Sleep bedding. And the Save Our Sleep bedding is, I said, the fundamental building to getting your kids sleeping, but is that even a word, fundamental?
Fundamental is, yes.
Can you say it like that? It's the foundation to good sleep.
Yeah,
the bedding.
1,000%. Just 1,000%. My boys started sleeping through before I had read your book, Tizzie. I had only read the bedding guide and implemented the bedding guide. It is so, so important and magical, I would say.
Oh, well, so actually, there's a lady and she on the support group, and she said her bedding arrived. And instantly, her baby, I love it.
Yes,
instantly,
that's what
her
happened
baby's
with me.
sleeping.
Yes, that's
it's just
exactly
bedding.
what happened to me.
Maybe we don't need any sleep training. Maybe it's just bedding. And people used to come into the hub and we used to lend them. In the next episode, please remind me to tell you about the lady who came into the hub and borrowed the bedding twice. Okay? Cool.
Okay, can't wait to
See you all later.
Again. Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Save Our Sleep podcast, brought to you by the International Baby Whisperer Proprietary Limited. You will find more information about the Save Our Sleep philosophy, product support, and how to watch the mini clips that accompany this podcast at saveoursleep.com. You may find the Save Our Sleep social media accounts by searching Tizzie Hall on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for all my how-to videos and to watch the podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate the podcast and share it with your friends. I would like to thank Zoe Starr for co-hosting, Ben at Fundamental Studios Geelong for the amazing podcast recording room, Nick Dale at Primer Films for this production, and most of all, you, the listeners. Without you, there would be no reason for this podcast. Please enjoy, stay safe, and Zoe and I will look forward to chatting with you again next week.